Hey everyone, Jennifer Lee Chan here from NBC Sports Bay Area. We just went through locker cleanout with the players and spoke to a ton of them. George Kittle spoke, Fred Warner, Christian McCaffrey, Charvarius Ward, Mooney, um, Deommodore Lenore, Debo, um, Malik Mustafa. I think Dominic Puni spoke. Anyways, a ton of players spoke. They're cleaning out their lockers. Some guys are coming back, some guys potentially will not. So, just kind of, one of those kind of somber days because it isn't the way the 49ers wanted it to go. And, this is the last time this iteration of the 49ers roster will be together. So there are guys signing jerseys, kind of exchanging different memorabilia, that type of thing. Fred Warner signed his one of his jerseys, gave it to Charvarius Ward. Kind of maybe one of the most I guess powerful things or most impactful things that I learned in the locker room today is that Charvarius Ward has been going through PTSD. Every time he comes to California, he feels depressed, and he wakes up in the middle of the night and in just sweats, body sweat. He throws up. He's been dealing with a lot of stress, and looking at the way he performed this season, it's been tough for him. He's a guy that has been affected by his personal life, which I don't see why anyone wouldn't, but I think maybe more than others. When Charvarius Ward bonded with his daughter Amani Joy when she was alive and she started responding to him, his play went through the roof. And then this season has been really tough for him. So we learned today that in week 2 of the season, he almost lost his unborn baby boy. So his wife had a procedure to make sure the child stayed in. He almost came early, which would have been super early. Um, so had a procedure to make sure that the unborn baby stayed inside because it was almost delivered early. And then, that happened right before Amani Joy passed. And then, thankfully, the birth of his son, healthy birth of his son. Um, his wife does not want to live in California. So while he said, he may come back to the Niners on a 1-year prove it deal, to kind of boost his monetary value next year, 2026. That is a possibility, but he would have to live in California alone. He said it was really difficult to go home to an empty house. He was by himself. His wife wants to stay in Dallas. That's where his family is. That's where everyone is. So I think he'd rather play for either the Houston Texans, Tennessee Titans, Dallas Cowboys, but he knows that it's going to be a challenge because this year he did not look like himself. If it was after last year when he led the league in pass breakups, he might have gotten a huge contract that might have been, he might have outpriced himself for the 49ers to bring him back. But the way things are now, he may come back to the Niners for a year just to kind of boost his earning potential in 2026. But he also could, maybe do that same thing at another place. He knows D'Amico Ryans. D'Amico Ryans knows him, so they know what kind of player he can be. And now he's talked about how he's even more motivated than ever. He said this year it was just tough for him. Football kind of took the back seat because he was worried about his family, and I don't see anything wrong with that. It's just unfortunate the way it happened. So, I'll miss him in the locker room because he's been always such a great guy to talk to, and I hope that everything goes well with his family, and I will always wish him the best. We did speak to Christian McCaffrey, and we haven't spoken to him for a really long time, kind of on a better, happier note. Christian McCaffrey said he's almost fully recovered from the PCL injury. He also did reveal that it was the injury to his knee happened when his knee impacted with the turf in Buffalo. He didn't say that it was frozen or anything like that, but he did say that it was from the impact. I thought it might have been, because it didn't look like it was that hard, but I think with the way his leg was extended, also his leg was being pulled back. So it was that shoestring tackle, but he said it wasn't from the pull, it was from the impact. But he did say he's completely 100% better from the Achilles bilateral Achilles tendonitis. So he's 100% healed from that. The knee just needs a little bit more time, and they're taking their time with it. But if the 49ers were going to play in a playoff game, he might have been healthy enough to do it. So he said there wasn't any one thing that attributed to the Achilles injury during the offseason. He's still going to work out like, a lot as he always does. He didn't change anything from his offseason prior to the Offensive Player of the Year award that he got versus this last year. So, he's going to kind of test it out, all the stuff that he does during the offseason and see what, you know, make sure that he's not repeating what happened last year. But it's been mostly the same type of workouts for quite a while. So there's nothing that he can put his finger on that actually caused the injury. But obviously, he's going to be very careful with himself, making sure he comes back healthy for the 2025 season. And he said, it was really, really challenging for him to miss this season, especially with the way the season was going. He also said that, part of the challenge with that is, he said the Buffalo injury was the most frustrating. He was just starting to feel like himself. And then, he averaged like 7 yards per carry. And I also thought when we were in the press box, I was like, oh my gosh, Christian McCaffrey's back. This is it. This is the guy that, won the Offensive Player of the Year last year. He's back. It's going to propel the season forward. But just wasn't to be. And he said, his motivation is kind of like this pissed off mentality. And he said the locker room feels the same way. And, I think that's motivation for them going forward. So I wrote about Brock Purdy also. That's on NBC Sports Bay Area. Check that out. Brock Purdy talked about his impending contract. And I think what's really interesting about Brock Purdy's mentality, he says he doesn't want any drama. He wants to deal with it respectfully. I mean, he wouldn't say that would not include a holdout or a hold in if it doesn't happen before OTAs, but he wants to get it done as soon as possible. He wants to build chemistry. He wants to get back on the field with his guys and help win a Super Bowl. So not that he was per se blowing or throwing Trent Williams or Brandon Ayuk under the bus for holding out or holding in, but Brock Purdy does not want this whole contract negotiation to be in the public spotlight. He wants to deal with it respectfully. He wants to, do whatever he needs to do to get it done, but he wants it done as soon as possible. He also said that, someone asked him if he would take a team-friendly deal. And he said, I don't know what that looks like. I'm just, I want to be here for my guys, for this locker room, for this organization. So I don't know what it's going to look like, but he wants to get it done. So no admittance that he would take a hometown deal. And there was no reason for him to admit that because the 49ers will be like, hey, you said you would only take $50 million. So that's what we're going to give you. No, I mean, Brock Purdy is going to get paid. And I know there's a lot of you out there that think it should be 40 million for how he played this year. But I mean, it's not like that. You look at what his resume is, what he's been able to do with a full complement of an offense. And he's a productive player. He is a guy that can make this offense work. And so I think he's going to get upwards of 60. And I think the reason is the cap goes up to $272 million next year. 22% of that is $60 million. Kyler Murray is making 46.1, but only because it's 22% of the cap level that year. So I think we're looking at very high 50s or $60 million for Brock Purdy because that is what the market dictates. I know it's crazy to talk about money, that amount of money like that, because it's like monopoly money to, normal people like me. Is crazy, but it's what the market bears. And I think that's where a lot of the guys are in respect to their future contracts. I think George Kittle will be trying to renegotiate more guaranteed money. Kyle Juszczyk is a guy who may or may not be back next year. So there's a lot of kind of moving pieces going forward. Kyle Shanahan did not talk today. He probably will talk either Wednesday or Thursday, and I'm sure that will include coaching staff changes. So there's no news on that, whether they're going to replace Brian Schneider as a special teams coordinator, Nick Sorensen, defensive coordinator. None of that has been announced, or we don't know anything about that. Kyle Shanahan will talk in the next few days. All right, so that is my update for now. There's so much more I'm trying to filter through. We talked to so many players, so I'll have more updates for you here. But this is going to be it for today, which is Monday. I thought those were kind of the key pieces. Brock Purdy, wants to get his contract done ASAP without drama, without, it being in the public spotlight. Christian McCaffrey says the team is pissed off in the best kind of way. And Charvarius Ward, just I'm sure all of our hearts go out to him for what he dealt with this season, and just happy that, time is going to heal the wounds somewhat. And, hopefully, more for him in the future with a healthy family. All right, everybody. I'll give you more updates as I get them, but I'm going to filter kind of through all these locker room interviews. We did so many, but those are my updates for today. All right. Please subscribe. Please go check out the shorts. I think those get more of an audience than these do, but that's my news for today. All right. Talk to you guys soon.